Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here. A bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things in the world. Now, every day on the John Campea Show, that's our main movie news show in the mornings, we save a bunch of time for some live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do. It's just all open discussion, questions about all our favorite things in the world of movies, some television, some sports too, whatever it is you guys want to talk about. So I'm going to let you guys know, although I say this all the time, but then I keep going anyway, I do need to cut today's show a little bit short. I actually have an appointment in Hollywood I need to go to. But we'll get through just as many as we can here along the way. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get things started. And we start off with the first question today that comes to us from Jay Bling, who writes, Deceptive trailer. 2008's Body of Lies with Leonardo DiCaprio and Russell Crowe. Crowe was second billed and marketed as the likely villain to Leo. Not only was he not the villain, he was barely in it. I remember the marketing for that. I don't know that they marketed him as the villain. They marketed him as a dick. I mean, they did do that. If you interpreted that, if anybody interpreted that as the villain, then that's, you know, that's just on you, like whether or not that's true. But they just kind of portrayed him as a dick in it. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but I do remember he wasn't in it a lot. I wouldn't say he was only in it for, like, you know, Anthony Hopkins was in Mission Impossible 2. I don't think he was in it that little, but if I remember correctly, and it has been a while since I've seen it, he was in it pretty little, and he was second billed. So, yeah, I think that would probably fall. Again, I'd have to see it again to know for sure, but that sounds like something that would fall under that category. I mean, that is one of the big, I think, culprits in deceptive marketing, is making it look like a certain star is in the movie more than they are. A recent example of that is The Kingsman 2, Golden Circle. That, I mean, I talked about that a lot on my shows, but it made it look like, what's his name? Channing Tatum was practically the third star in that movie. He was the third listed star. Because you had Taron Egerton, you had the guy who, Colin Firth. You had Colin Firth, and then the next billed name was Channing Tatum. And Channing Tatum was all over the trailers and all over the posters and all over everything. Channing Tatum's in it for like 6 or 7 minutes and gone. So that is one of the most frequently big offending culprits of deceptive marketing, is making it look like a certain star is in the movie more than they actually are. And we do see that happen quite often. All right, let's move on here. Jacob Leaf writes, today is my birthday. Well, happy birthday, Jacob. And thank you, John, for the gift that is you and all that you do. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us on your birthday. I hope you have a great evening. I hope you're able to spend some time with some family or some friends, whatever it is you like to do, and just enjoy yourself, whether that's a huge party or a quiet evening alone, because maybe you don't get a lot of those. I hope you're just able to enjoy it for whatever it is that works for you. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Jacob. All right, next up is Alex Pitt. And Alex Pitt writes, I love your shows, John, and I watch every day. Thanks so much, Alex. Which movie had more deceptive marketing? Bridge to Terabithia or War for the Planet of the Apes? Thank you for bringing up War for the Planet of the Apes. Lies. That entire movie sits on a throne of lies. Why must you turn this into a house of lies? All of the marketing for War for the Planet of the Apes was all BS. They marketed that movie, and it's a shame because it's a good movie, but they marketed that movie, this is it, the war between humans and apes, and all the posters has the army of humanity here and the army of apes, and all the posters has like Caesar on that horse with the little girl behind him. By the way, every single poster had Caesar on that horse with the little girl on the horse with them. Never once in the movie is she on that horse with Caesar. Never once. But the whole thing, the name of the damn movie is War for the Planet of the Apes. Never happens. The entire movie is a POW camp escape plan. That's what it is. It's an escape plan movie. It's almost like it's an escape movie. It's not a war movie. And all of these trailers that showed war, oh my gosh, guys, here it is. You've waited 3 movies for it. Now you're going to get the big war. And they show rah, apes roaring and all this kind of, and the army, humans, army, blah, blah, blah. And none of that was part of the movie. Yeah, I'd say in the last 2 to 3 years, War for the Planet of the Apes was the most deceptive marketing campaign we've seen in a long time. And again, it's a shame because the movie's a good movie. It's not the movie that they promised us, but it's a good movie nonetheless. But yeah, that was brutal. I will still say, though, that out of the two, the worst one is still Bridge to Terabithia. Because that, again, I talked about it this morning, but that is a Disney film. That was a film that was completely different than what they market as a fun adventure fantasy movie, kids in the woods, and it's depressing and it's dark and a child dies and it's about family and her little best friend child trying to deal with the fact that her friend is dead and oh my God, it's just a completely different movie. So, I mean, yeah, none of the wars in War for the Planet of the Apes, but it's at least similar to the movie they advertised. This wasn't, Bridge to Terabithia wasn't similar at all. I mean, it was brutal. Brutally different. Anyway, so I'll lean towards Bridge to Terabithia, but War for the Planet of the Apes was definitely a bad offender. Totally a bad offender. All right. SSJR Goku Black writes, with today being Tom Brady's 41st birthday, what is your favorite TB12 moment? Plus, if he wins another Super Bowl, should he retire? I mean, he's 41. He can retire whenever he wants. I think he should retire at the end of this year, whether he wins a Super Bowl, yet another Super Bowl or not. I think he should retire. Just enjoy life, man. You're in the prime years of your life. You've got a supermodel, super wealthy wife. You've got great kids. You're a king among men. Retire. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. If he can still play, and obviously he can, if he can still play and wants to play, then play. Whatever makes you happy, man. But honestly, I think he should just retire and enjoy life. He's got all the money in the world. He's got great looks, great health, great family. Why not? I remember once The Onion did this. If you guys know The Onion, they're fake news, but it's hilarious. You should read The Onion. But anyway, The Onion once did this article on Tom Brady to write a tell-all book about the highs and highs of being Tom Brady. Normally you expect highs and lows, but the highs and highs of being Tom Brady. Yeah, my best Tom Brady memory, though, obviously, is that Super Bowl against the Falcons. That record-setting comeback. I mean, I'll never forget it. I will never forget that comeback. I'll always know exactly where I was. I'll always know everything. It was like the most incredible game, the most incredible Super Bowl ever. I mean, they were down by 30-plus points, and Tom Brady brings them back to win. I mean, it's crazy. So that will always be my favorite Tom Brady moment. All right. Ben Rayner writes, do you think DC is setting up Black Manta to be kind of like a Loki from the MCU? Do you see similarities between the two? Well, first of all, it's impossible to see similarities because we haven't seen the movie. So all I've seen, like, what's similarities? I haven't heard a single line out of his mouth. I've seen one frame of the dude doing this, and then one frame of him in the costume, and one frame of him shooting laser out of his eyes. That's it. So, no, I don't see any similarities because I haven't seen anything of this character to see similarities or not, right? So, that being said, I like your analogy. The idea of using him like a Loki character, a bad guy who might actually... Those are great types of characters, and maybe they're going to look at him that way. I really don't know at this point. Like, it's impossible to say until we see Aquaman. Then, once we see him and get a feel for the character, we can probably start to theorize a little bit more. But I will say, I mean, look, clearly they've got big plans for him moving forward after Aquaman. I do not think they're going to do a standalone movie about him. So that means he's going to be used in other films. More Aquaman, other DC characters films, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. But I do like that idea about the direction going kind of like in the direction of a Loki. That could be interesting. But again, we'll have to see the movie before we can even theorize if that's true or not. All right, next one. Ben follows that up with, is this McDonald's movie with Ben and Matt at Warner Brothers? I believe he is actually in the process of directing a movie for Sony right now. But let me just bring it up here to double check. Okay, so Well, he's got a movie he's doing called Witness for the Prosecution right now that he will, it's an Agatha Christie story that he's both going to star in and direct. Him and Matt Damon are producing it. And that is also a 20th Century Fox film. So there's that. But last year, they was at different times. I do not think at all, although he was doing a lot at Warner Brothers, that's fair to say he was doing an awful lot just exclusively with Warner Brothers, but most actors, directors, producers, well, producers are different, but most actors and directors aren't handcuffed to one studio. They can do things with other studios. So that's not a big deal. It is a little eyebrow raising. Understand that he made film after film after film with Warner Brothers, and all of a sudden he's doing some other things. But I mean, I honestly don't think so. I don't think it's a sign that things are good with Warner Brothers. I don't think it's a sign that things are bad. Obviously, things aren't great because of all the drama. Like when Ben was supposed to write, produce, direct, and star in Batman, and then they took away the director, and then they took away his screenplay, and then they, like, whatever. So obviously things aren't great. But to be completely honest with you, no. Him doing a movie with another studio is neither an indication of anything good or anything bad. It's just amoral, if you will. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a thing he's doing. It doesn't mean anything at all about what he is or isn't doing with Warner Brothers. So we should keep that in mind. Fair question. Totally fair question. But honestly, it doesn't really mean anything good or bad. All right, let's move on here. Aditya Naran writes, David Hayter is famous for voicing, so I don't know, he's not famous. He's not famous, but he's famous for voicing Solid Snake, but he's underrated as a writer. He wrote the first two X-Men films. Well, yes and no, but we'll get to that in a second. Why isn't he involved anymore? First of all, he was one of the screenplay writers for the first X-Men movie. He did not write the screenplay for X-Men 2. He does have a story by credit, but that's completely different from writing the screenplay. So he has a story by credit, yes, but he didn't write X-Men 2. Let's be clear about that. If I'm not mistaken, he also wrote that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, Scorpion King. If I'm not mistaken, I think he wrote that. But at any rate, why isn't he involved here? Well, I mean, why isn't any writer who writes on one thing and moves on, writes other things, and then other people come in and write things? I mean, I don't think there's any one particular, not that I know of, I don't think there's any one particular big piece of drama. I just think writers come and go. Writers come and go, for the most part. There are exceptions, yes, but quite often writers come and go. I don't know that there's any definitive reason why he's not there anymore. Maybe he wasn't that good. I mean, I don't know. I know he hasn't written a lot lately. Maybe he decided to focus more on his acting career or anything like that, but I don't think there's any particular reason. Writers come and go. Sometimes studios and producers and directors will want one group of writers and they'll want to change things up and bring in another group of writers. So, I mean, maybe there is some big Hollywood shady story drama there somewhere, but I really don't think there is, at least not to the best of my knowledge. Okay, Adamus95 writes, what plot hole in a movie got on your nerves the most? For me, it's the orcs in the third Hobbit film not using the giant worms. Just really bugged me. I don't know that was a plot hole, to be honest with you. I don't know, man. Adamus, it's a fair question, but it's one I'd have to sit down and think about. It's one that I'd have to sit down and think about. Honestly, I can't pull any off the top of my head. And I could sit here in silence for 5 minutes to try to think of some, but that's just going to upset everybody else. It's a great question, so why don't you guys jump on that? What are some of the biggest plot holes to you in movies? Jump in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think. Adamus follows it up, says, Orc saying, sir, why don't we use the worms? It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, so I can't remember that off the top of my head, so I can't really address that. Sorry, Adamus. Richard Kerady writes, what did you think we will ever get a Fresh Prince? You probably mean, do I think we will ever get a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air movie at the cinema? It would be great to see them all back one last time, and they could do it in memory of James Avery, who was Uncle Phil. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I don't think anybody would go to see it. To be really frank, I don't think anybody would go to see it. And it would be expensive to make because it would have Will Smith in it. So right there, it's expensive. And without James Avery, I don't see the point. And then which actress do you invite back to play the role of James Avery's wife? Because, you know, there was drama there. But honestly, I just can't see a pitch for that would make some studio say, yes, this is worth sinking $40 million into, on top of marketing and everything like that. I just don't think there would be a demand for it. I really don't. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people remember Fresh Prince of Bel-Air very fondly, yes, but that doesn't mean they're going to rush out and pay $12 to go to see a movie of it. I don't think they would, so I'm going to guess probably very unlikely. It's an interesting concept, but honestly, I think very unlikely. Were James Avery alive today? I still don't think it's likely. It increases the chances a few percentage points, but I still don't think it's likely. So I'm still going to say no. I don't think it. I think it's very unlikely that would ever happen. Believe me, if studios thought they could make money off that, would have been done already. If they thought for a second they could make $5 profit on doing something like that, done. Plus, I really don't think Will Smith wants to do something like that either, especially without, you know, Uncle Phil. So, yeah, I don't think the chances are very high. Alexander Helmer writes, loved Christopher Robin. Pooh was so adorable. Pooh was very adorable in it. And I think Eeyore stole the show. I mean, I do. I think Eeyore stole the show. Eeyore was so funny. Oh, great. Now it's armed. I should be careful. I don't want to give spoilers away. But I thought Eeyore was even better. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, my problem with the movie is that it is a very uneven first act and has pacing problems in the first act. And I'll be honest with you, I was not enjoying myself the first 1/3 of the movie. The first act of the film, I was not enjoying myself. Then it picks up from there, and that's when the charm gets turned on and all that kind of stuff. Then I really enjoyed it from that part on. But I fear that a lot of people are going to be lost from the first act. You know what I mean, right? There's at some point you're watching a movie you're not liking, and then mentally you just kind of check out of the movie. And I think there's going to be some people that mentally check out of the movie before they get to the good stuff, which is unfortunate. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it too. Pooh was adorable, but again, I thought Eeyore stole the show. Okay, Alexander Helmer follows that up with, what's your favorite murder mystery movie? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, a couple of relatively recent ones. Well, LA Confidential's not recent, but LA Confidential's one that's great. Speaking of Ben Affleck, Gone Girl is amazing. It's great mystery and like lots of twists and turns, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, maybe those aren't even in my top 20. That's something I'd have to sit down and think about. I will just say off the top of my head, a couple of titles that really come to mind are LA Confidential and Gone Girl. Those are a couple that come to mind pretty quick. All right. Chris Warden writes, thoughts on Michael Wincott as an actor? He's quintessential 90s movie bad guy that doesn't get the recognition. I don't even know who he is, to be honest with you. I do not know who he is. He's probably one of those guys that has a face that you'll instantly recognize. So here he is. Yeah, I don't know him. So I can't make any comments. Sorry about that, Chris. Let's see. Sorry, we had the big jump. Okay, here we go. Jeff Ning writes, 6 cents and dropping. MoviePass will leave us September 4th. Well, let me just double check there. Helios and Matheson stock price. Helios and Matheson is the... Oh, they're back up to 7 cents. They started the day at 10 cents. And... oh, now the market's closed. So it officially dropped 30% more today. It went from 10 cents a share down to 7 cents a share. At what point, yeah, I can see on the stock chart here, it did go down to 6 cents, came back up to 8 cents for a minute. It was up to 8 cents and then went back down to 7 cents. And that's where it closed the day at 7 cents. So it opened today at 10 cents, closed today at 7 cents, another 30% drop. Yep. Get the band playing. It's not going to be around for much longer. Andrew Oldham writes, Man of Steel was originally slated for Christmas 2013, was pushed to June 2013. Roger Ebert, your all-time favorite critic, passed away April 2013. Wonder what he would have thought of it. I've had this discussion before with people, actually, with a friend of mine. I believe Ebert would have really liked it. I don't know that he would have liked it as much as I did. Actually, I'm fairly certain he wouldn't have liked it. Most people don't like it as much as I do. But when you look at his sensibilities, I think Man of Steel fits. Now, again, I'll never be able to prove that. Maybe he would have hated it. So obviously we'll never be able to prove it. But knowing his sensibilities and about what generally sometimes works for him and what generally sometimes doesn't, I have a feeling he would have liked Man of Steel. I think he would have liked that movie, especially the whole Pa Kent stuff. I think he would have loved that incarnation, that Kevin Costner's incarnation of Jonathan Kent. I think he really would have liked that stuff as far as a narrative hook goes. But again, never be able to prove it. I'll just choose to think, and obviously I'm biased. It's one of my favorite comic book movies. He's my all-time favorite film critic. So I'd like to think that he would have liked it, but maybe he wouldn't have. Who knows? We'll never know for sure. But I think he would have liked it. That's just me, though. All right. Taki75 writes, best Canadian film ever in your opinion? No idea. I would honestly have to sit down and think about it and go over a list and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I have no answer for that. Sorry about that, dude. KW Garrett 83 writes, does Raiders of the Lost Ark have a story problem? Friends say Indy played no role in the outcome. Without Indy, Nazis still dig up the Ark, open it, and die. Your thoughts? Well, actually, that's not true. That's not true. And first of all, though, even if that were true, that's not a story problem. That's not a story problem. Like sometimes, especially with mythical kind of characters, like an Indiana Jones, it's about the hero's journey, and sometimes it's just about the story being told through their eyes. But no, Raiders of the Lost Ark does not end up on that island with that big ceremony and the Nazis opening it and the faces melt. That doesn't get there without Indiana Jones. Why? Because and maybe this is a detriment to Indy, but the Nazis don't find the Ark of the Covenant without Indy. Remember, they were digging in the wrong spot. They were digging in the wrong spot. And it was Indy and Sulla who found the real chamber that had the Ark. The Nazis then realized that, go and get him, and they take the Ark from him. As Bellick, once again, Indy, there's nothing you can possess that I cannot take away. So there's that. But without Indy, the Nazis never find it. So we actually don't get to the end of that movie were it not for Indiana Jones. But again, even then, you know, Indy doesn't play a role in stopping the Nazis. So does that present a story problem? I don't think that presents a story problem at all. I think it just kind of resets the camera of the eye to the notion that this is the story of the Lost Ark as being told through the eyes of this hero. And on that level, it works great. So I don't consider that a story problem, to be honest with you. But once again, he definitely influences the ending of the film, the outcome of the film, and the direction the film goes. Because without him, they never would have found the Ark. All right. Chris Miner writes, Happy Rusev Day. You misspelled Rusev. Happy Roos Day. My uncle told me where he was when the finale of Seinfeld happened. He was so disappointed, but I didn't mind it. I'm in the minority. I remember exactly where I was too. I was in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, at my friend Colin Reimer's house. And there we had a big Seinfeld finale watching party. And my friends Curtis and Kim Bolt were there. They're a married couple. We had a few other of our friends there. It was over at my friend Colin's house in his basement. We had food. We were watching it. I was very disappointed. I thought it was a very bad episode. Now, it worked for you, Chris. That's great. And I love Seinfeld. But I honestly think that the season finale of Seinfeld was the single worst episode of Seinfeld they ever did. And I thought it was a terrible way to end the series. Now, the very ending of the episode where they end it with Jerry in prison, that's kind of a funny way to end it, knowing he's going to be in prison for 5 years or 3 years or whatever his sentence was. That's not a bad exact spot to end it, but that whole episode as an ending to me just didn't work, unfortunately. But hey, that doesn't mean it didn't work for other people, and I'm glad it worked for you. But yep, like your uncle, I remember exactly where I was when Seinfeld had its season or its series finale. I remember exactly. Joseph Z writes, excited for Young Justice Season 3? I know I am. I actually don't like Young Justice. I think it's kind of stupid. I know there's a lot of you guys who love it, and that's great. If you like Young Justice, that's awesome. I tried giving it a shot because so many of you guys said you liked it, and I just thought it was stupid. I thought it was really dumb. So I ditched it. Now, to be fair, there's not much Marvel or DC animation that I like. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. There are some big high-profile exceptions, but for the most part, a lot of the TV stuff that both DC and Marvel do, I'm not a fan of. I try to watch them. I try to be into them. And Young Justice was just one that I really, it didn't just not appeal to me. I thought it was rather bad. But hey, I know a lot of people love it. I've got friends of mine who love it, and I'm super thrilled that you guys are going to get a season 3. Let's see. Danielle Quintana writes, hey, John, Sunday I sent an email asking for some tips on a short film I'm trying to make. Also, if you're interested, you could help out without donating. Hey, again, guys, I appreciate it, Daniel. Do me a favor, though, guys, and I've brought this up a couple of times. Please don't send in super chats on open mic about personal stuff, because that's you now. What's happening now, Daniel, is we're having just a conversation between you and me, and we're excluding everybody else from the conversation, right? Like, we've just excluded everybody else out. So if you have stuff to communicate that's one-on-one nature, do email me. I don't think I've read that email yet. Maybe I can't remember off the top of my head. I do get a lot of emails. Forgive me for that. But again, the open mic, and I'm not coming down on it. I'm just asking. Open mic is for the topics and discussions that we can all talk about and engage with. Personal messages, other than, hey, John, thanks for doing what you do. But like stuff like this, it's best to just leave to email. So I appreciate that, Daniel. Thank you. Thanks for that. Let's see. Folsom53 writes, ever done a tour of Walt Disney Studios? I'm going on one next month. Yeah, it's funny because I was actually just at Walt Disney Studio on Wednesday. We went there to watch the Christopher Robin screening. I've been to every studio lot. Warner Brothers, Fox, Universal, Disney. I mean, a lot of times they do their screenings at other movie theaters, but quite often sometimes they'll do screenings right there on their studio lots. Paramount, whatever. I love going to the studio lots. I love going to Warner Brothers and Paramount and Disney and all that kind of stuff. There's just, when you're walking around one of the studio lots, it's, I don't know, I just get this sense of Hollywood history. Like, just as I walk around there, especially in a really old one like Disney, Universal's really old too, but walking around there and you're seeing the buildings, like, oh my God, that's where Alfred Hitchcock had his office, was right there. That building I'm looking at, that was Alfred Hitchcock's office. Like, it's great. I love it. So I actually get a real kick out of going to the studios to do screenings. And I've been given tours around by publicists and stuff like that. And yeah, it's always a big kick because I get a real sense of history when you're doing it. You know what I mean? If you ever get the chance, everybody, to do that, by all means do that. Let's see. James Welsh writes, Now We Are Free is the ending song of Gladiator. That came up the other day about the song. Again, I don't remember it off the top of my head. I don't know the piece exactly, so I'd have to go back and watch it. I love the soundtrack though, so I'm sure it's a piece I like, but I couldn't hum it for you right now. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. But damn, I do love that movie, and the soundtrack in it was great. K Major writes, hey John, finally saw Crisis on Earth X. It was a bit better than I thought, and that hero death actually hit me harder than I expected. Good on CWDC. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That Crisis on Earth X, it would have been a terrible movie. Like, if they really sat in theaters and, like, you paid money to go see it, you'd probably be pissed off. It wasn't movie quality. But for what it was, as a DC crossover, as a CW DC crossover thing, I thought it was a very fun crossover. They are going to be hard-pressed to top that one this year. Now, apparently this year, the Legends of Tomorrow, if I remember right, and maybe I heard wrong, I think I heard that the Legends of Tomorrow are not going to be a part of the crossover this year, which I'm actually okay with. I'm totally, like, honestly, I would just be fine with the crossover just being Flash and Arrow, to be honest with you. But that Crisis on Earth X thing, that was really well done. It was fun. It was a fun little thing that they did. I got a big kick out of it. And you're right, the death was pretty moving. I was surprised they did something so significant. And I won't say who it was, just in case. But I was surprised that they did something that significant in the crossover. You would think they would have saved that for Legends of Tomorrow. You would have thought they would have saved that for the Legends of Tomorrow show proper. Instead, they did it on Crisis on Earth X, which made it really unexpected, which added to the oomph of it, I think. Okay, let's move on here. Razor Edge Frisbee writes, taking the amazing VFX work of Thanos out of the debate, who has the better CGI, Ready Player One or Infinity War? That's tough because the CGI in Ready Player One is spectacular. Man, I don't know. I am tempted to say Ready Player One. I'll say Ready Player One. Especially if, you know what, even if you left Thanos in, I might be still tempted to say Ready Player One. I might not. But if you're taking Thanos out of the equation, then I would definitely say Ready Player One. Yeah, I'll go Ready Player One. I mean, just the entire world they could... Remember, it was supposed to feel like a complete fantasy world, but not quite feel real at the same time because they're in a virtual reality thing, right? The imagination they showed bringing that thing to life, the way the design of everything was breathtaking, and they pulled it off flawlessly. I just thought it was all types of spectacular. I love that movie, Ready Player One. Just adored it. So, yeah, I'll say the way you've worded the question, I will say Ready Player One. That's what I'm going to go with. Hollid Love writes, hey, John, happy Friday. Thank you so much. So I found 20 bucks on my couch. We used to call that secret money. Me and my friends, like when you put on a jacket you haven't worn in a while and you put your hand in your pocket and you're just like, oh, there's 10 bucks. We used to call that secret money. When you come across money that you forgot you had, whether it's in a couch, in your bank account, whatever, we used to call that secret money. And secret money was fun because we had a rule with ourselves that secret money you could spend on whatever you want. So you can go blow it on a hot dog. You can go buy a toy with it. That's what we used to do with secret money. Anyway, let me finish reading your message. Hold on a second. Uh-oh. Hold a second. Hold on a second. Sorry, I just got a text message from Dennis. Oh! The Khabib Conor McGregor fight is now official for UFC 229. That's going to be in October. Wow. Conor McGregor is going to get his ass whooped. He's going to get his ass whooped. Khabib, I think pound for pound, Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. I've never been able to pronounce his last name. Let me give it a shot right here. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Whatever. Khabib. He's the baddest man on the planet. Khabib is simply a living nightmare. He is unbeatable. Right now, he is unbeatable. And he is going to rip Conor McGregor to shreds. He is going to pound him like a silly side beef. Yeah. All right. I'll text Dennis back later. Anyway. Okay. Sorry, let me now finish reading your message. Found 20 bucks on my couch. Should I buy MoviePass? I'm talking about the whole company, not just some stock. I think that's a good purchase. You know, here's funny. When they dropped to 10 cents the other day, I can't remember if it was an email or in Super Chat. Somebody wrote and said, hey, oh, you know, it might have been during the Warcraft stream last night, but whatever. Somebody was mentioning, hey, I used 20 bucks and I bought 200 shares of MoviePass because, hey, why not, right? If it tanks, I'm out 20 bucks. Now, what I told him was that remember, MoviePass just did a 250-to-1 reverse stock split to artificially increase the price of their stock. So I said, if they do that again, you might want to buy another 50 shares. Because you might want to, if you just have 200 and you have to have at least 250 to make one share, you might be out your money. So I said, buy 50 more shares of stock, so $5 more. And that way you have 250 shares. So if they do another reverse stock split, at least you have enough stock, 250 shares, to make one new share. So instead of being left with 0, you'll have 1 stock. So yeah, it is kind of crazy, right? Like $20, you could be the new CEO of MoviePass. Congratulations, Holland. You're now the CEO of MoviePass with your $20. Dirk Walker writes, the reason I like Bridge to Terabithia so much is because I wasn't expecting it to be what it was. If I knew going in, I probably wouldn't have been impacted. I mean, look, and that's the thing. I've always said that one of the big unfortunate things about the lying, deceiving, misleading marketing was the fact that it's a good movie. It's just a good movie that's it's a very different good movie than what they were promising people. That's great that it worked out for you, Dirk, but I know people who were pissed off. Particularly, I remember some parents who were absolutely pissed off because Disney lied to them. And you can understand, especially where parents coming from. You lied to me. You told me in your marketing that this was a fun fantasy adventure film, great for kids and blah, blah, blah. So I made the decision to come and bring my kid with me, or kids, plural. And instead, it was a movie that I would not have brought my kids to. With a lot of depression and heaviness and dreariness, and a child dies and a tragedy and blah, blah, blah. That is not what I thought I was bringing my kids to. Let alone a lot of people are saying, that's not what I thought I was buying myself a ticket for. You cannot lie to the audience. To me, I don't know where, I don't have a good example of anything around here offhand. Oh, damn, I don't have my box here. But let's say, okay, for instance, back there, you can't see it. I've got my Hot Toys Boba Fett box, right? It's got a picture of Boba Fett on it. Awesome. $295. Okay, I send in $295 to get my, because there's the box, Boba Fett's on it. I'm good. And I get there and I open it up and it's a big 2-liter bottle of Coke instead of a Boba Fett hot toy. Now, I like Coke. I'd love to have a cold, refreshing 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola soda. Sounds great. It's a wonderful thing. Well, what's wrong, John? Don't you like Coke? Well, yes, I like Coca-Cola. Weren't you thirsty? Wasn't it there? Didn't it come in great when you were thirsty? Sure it did. Well, then what's the problem? It's not what I bought. It's not what I paid for. And for a movie like Bridge to Terabithia, that's the problem. They made people buy tickets to something that they were not actually getting. And in the case of a lot of parents, remember, there was a big uproar at the time. A lot of parents were very understandably and justifiably pissed. So, I mean, I don't know, like maybe for you as an individual, Dirk, that, you know, because it did completely catch you off guard, it created a greater impact for you. That's great. It certainly didn't do that for me. I was able to appreciate the movie for what it was anyway. It's a very well done movie. It just added to me the tragedy that you lied about it, that you sold a different bill of goods to people to trick them into coming to the theater. Because that's what they did. I think Disney knew at the time that, you know, we don't think people are really going to come out to see this movie for what it is. So let's lie to everybody. Tell them they're getting a different kind of a movie. Cut the trailer in such a way to make it look like a fantasy adventure movie with kids. So we can trick people. And really, that's what it was. It was Disney tricking people into buying movie tickets. And fortunately, I can't think of a Disney film that it's done anything like that again since, fortunately. But yeah, it was dirty and it was underhanded and it was unethical. You tricked people into buying tickets because you promised them one kind of movie and gave them something completely different. I'm not talking about an odd shot here or there that was in the trailer that's not in the movie. I'm not talking about, oh, they made it look like this actor was going to be at more than... No, you told them, you sold a movie that was a fun, light, fantasy adventure with kids in a magical forest and blah, blah, blah. And it's not that. It is a dark, depressing, tragic, children dying, kind of like awful, very hard-hitting, very real kind of movie, and you lied to people about it to trick them into buying movie tickets. And there's no excuse for that. And all we can say is, thankfully, they haven't done it like anything like that since, but there's no excusing what they did at the time. And I'm glad that for you, it actually gave more pop to it for you. That's great. But it does not undermine the fact that it was dirty, what they did. It was unethical. As a film company, it was immoral. And it was theft. They were basically stealing people's money because you were tricking them into thinking they were buying something when really you were giving them something completely different. And it was bad, man. It was really bad. All right, Kevin Kamaki just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. Running short on time here. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, also, I finally saw Ready Player One, Chappaquiddick, and You Were Never Really Here. Jason Clarke's best role, in my opinion. And You Were Never Really Here is my new favorite film of 2018, and RPO was awesome. I mean, all three of the movies were great. I was late to the party on Chappaquiddick. But Joaquin Phoenix, if you want to get more psyched about Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker, go watch him and You Were Never Really Here. And think this guy is going to be playing the Joker. That'll get you stoked up. And you know what's funny? With Ready Player One, I never read the book. Like, I found like most people who were really excited about Ready Player One were people who were fans of the book. I never read the book. So I really didn't know much about it. I mean, I knew the basic premise of the movie, sure, but I really didn't know any plot details. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the characters. I didn't know anything about the book. So I went in pretty cold, other than the trailers. I love Ready Player One. Love that movie. I was whisked away. To me, it's just everything great about a sci-fi fantasy action film. Action adventure film. Really, more adventure than action, but it's such a great example of that. I had such a good time with it. So I'm glad you were able to catch up on those films, Razor, because those are good ones to get caught up on. All right. Eli writes, now that Aquaman is not switching dates, what movie do you think wins the box office for that busy week? Love the show. Cannot wait for weekend or Weekly Hero. Thank you so much. Yeah, for those of you who don't know yet, me and Robert Meyer Burnett are starting up Weekly Hero again. I'm thinking about changing the name of it. We've gone through some different iterations. Like, I was thinking about CBOS, which was going to be Comic Books on Screen. Went away from that. Then we thought about Hall of Justice. I thought Hall of Justice would be a great name for the show. But then I did some research, and there's a little podcast somewhere that already has the name Hall of Justice. So I don't want to step on their toes. So it's like, oh, well, there goes that idea. So I don't know. I might just stick with the Weekly Hero. Here's the reality. To be quite frank and honest with you, there are some people, not many, but some people raised a concern to me. Never back when I was originally, nobody ever said anything when I was doing the original Weekly Hero. But now that I'm talking about bringing it back, some people raised a little bit of concern. The word hero is in there. And there's another show that I created called Heroes that's also running. So the word heroes in there too. Even though I think Heroes and the Weekly Hero are very different titles, still the word heroes in there. So all right, I'll look around. Although, I'm like, how many shows out there have the word hero in them? How many shows have the word comic in them? How many shows have the word comic book in them? How many shows have Legion of something in there? I mean, like, there's only so many words. There's only so many words to go around. So I'm still thinking about changing the name if I can come up with a name that I like better than Weekly Hero. By the way, guys, if you have some suggestions for a renamed Weekly Hero. And by the way, I'm perfectly happy just keeping it the Weekly Hero. I mean, I really don't care about the title of a show. Title's a title. For now, it's Weekly Hero. If you guys can give me a suggestion that's better than that, by all means, email me, john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's how you email. Just email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Email me your idea for a new title for Weekly Hero, and I will absolutely consider it. You know what? I'm going to make this a little bit of a contest. I'm going to make this a little bit of a contest. Here we go. I'm making this up off the top of my head. Thanks to our sponsor, our secret sponsor, who got us more AMC gift cards for Comic-Con than there were seats in, like, they got us more AMC gift cards than we need. So I got these $10 AMC gift cards, right? I'll tell you what. You send me an idea for a title, and I will pick one. I will send you gift card. Okay, and we're back, I believe. Yep, now we're back. Sorry, it looks like there was a little bit of a freeze there for a second. Okay, so what I will do is email me. Now, couple of caveats I'll have to put in here. Number one, you have to be in the United States. You can still send in a suggestion. Maybe I'll pick your suggestion. I just won't be able to send you a prize, but I'll say whose suggestion was, blah, blah. In case of duplicate suggestions, like if you send in the idea of, call it Super Team, I don't know, Super Team Omega. Let's say somebody says, call the show Super Team Omega. And I pick that, and somebody else goes, wait a minute, I also sent in the idea for Super Team Omega. Whoever email I come across first with the winning suggestion is the one that wins. Has to be in the United States, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. If I pick your title, I'll send you 5 $10 AMC gift cards. So how's that? There we go. Boom! There, we just created a little giveaway contest. So there you have it. Anyway, who's going to win the weekend? I don't know. I'm still thinking Mary Poppins is going to win that weekend. Let me just double check here. Because Mary Poppins, I think it's opening just a couple of days before. Let me just double check to make sure here. I'm just opening up the release schedule right now. Okay, so. Yes, on Wednesday the 19th, that's 2 days before Aquaman, Bumblebee, Alita, Battle Angel, blah, blah, Mary Poppins opens. I think Mary Poppins wins the opening weekend. I think it's going to be Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, Aquaman, Alita, Battle Angel, Holmes and Watson, Welcome to Marwen. Into Spider-Verse, Mortal Engines might beat out Holmes and Watson and Welcome to Marwen, but I think the top four are going to be Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, Aquaman, Alita, Battle Angel. That's what I think the way it's going to work out. But, man, they should have moved. Aquaman should have moved. They would just make more money if they moved. But they didn't. So, yeah, I think Mary Poppins wins the weekend. That doesn't mean the other films can't make money. They can still make money. Just because they don't take the #1 spot doesn't mean they don't make money. I think they'll probably still make money. But, yeah, that's kind of the way I see it right now. Okay, let me see. How many more questions are there? Still a bunch. Okay, let's try this one here. Eli. Oh, that was Eli. Okay. Zombitron 5678 writes, if someone is a screenwriter and story by, do they get paid more or is there no difference? Also, if someone writes and directs, are they paid more? Yeah, well, with story by, you don't get nearly as much. I mean, unless it's your story idea and you sell the idea and then you get story by credit or something like that. I'm not really sure how that works. If you are the writer and the director, yes, that's two different jobs. If you do if you write the script, you get paid for the script and you work on the script. And then if you direct, you get paid as a director. And those would both be governed by the different rules. The rules for how much you need to be paid and all that kind of stuff would fall under the WGA or the Writers Guild of America. Then there are rules that have to be followed for the DGA, the Directors Guild of America. And so yes, there are two separate things you'd be paid two separate times. You could get paid a lot as a director and almost nothing as a writer. You could be paid huge amount for your script and not be paid all that much as a director, but whatever, you will be paid two different times for doing two different jobs. Christopher Bickner writes, David Hayter has a screenplay credit for X2. I'm almost positive he does not. You might be right, but let me just double check here. David Hayter. I'm going to go to his writing credits here. And for X-Men 2, it's a story credit. Oh, you know what? No, I was wrong. Well, I was right and I was wrong. He has a story by credit And he has a screenplay credit. So he worked on the screenplay with Dan Harris and Michael Dougherty. And of course, Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris went on to do a lot of other stuff, including, aside from X-Men 2, they did Superman Returns, which I actually thought was a really good script. They did, and they wrote Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's coming out here pretty soon. So, yeah, so I was right. He had a story by credit, but he also had a screenplay credit. So there you go. He had both. Let's see. View 17 writes, just watched Eyes Wide Shut. Truly love Kubrick. Eyes Wide Shut's a trippy movie, man. It is a trippy movie. But it's engaging. It's sensual. It's a thriller. It's a whole lot of stuff. One of the most different types of, Kubrick did a lot of very diverse stuff, but they all had a certain thumbprint to them. I found Eyes Wide Shut to be one of his most unique films. Like wow, that one, I found that just really stood out a lot. You know what I'm saying? Not that it was better than other ones. I'm just saying it just, like the old Sesame Street game, one of these things is not like the other. And I felt like that was one of them. But yeah, it's a sultry movie. It's a very sultry movie. Rick Keir writes, in Matt Reeves' Batman, if you could choose one villain to be in it, who would it be? Please no Joker. I don't care. You know that, what actor do you want? What character do you want? I don't care. I really don't. Because here's the thing. I don't know anything about the movie. Since I don't know anything about the movie, who is to say what villain would best suit it, right? There are rumors he was looking at a Penguin character, which, if you're doing a detective thing, the Penguin's not as superpowered. You'd want a non-superpowered enemy, I guess. Penguin could fit into that, I suppose. But honestly, I really don't care because I can't say, oh, use KG Beast. But what if KG Beast doesn't fit the story at all? So it's impossible for me to say at that point. The one thing I will say is that what I already just mentioned is make it a human character. Make it a true, thriller, mystery, world's greatest detective kind of story. Make it a human character who can also pose a physical challenge to Batman. So make it a human character, well, KG Beast, but make it a human character that you can focus in on it being a world's greatest detective kind of story, but also can at least present some sort of physical challenge to Batman for the good comic book stuff. Because Superman Returns, which I thought was a good movie, just a terrible comic book movie, you still want to make sure you keep people happy for the comic book element of the new Batman film as well. So make it a world's greatest detective, but don't forget to also make it a comic book movie. Don't make the same mistake that Superman Returns made. That's the best that I got. Let's see. Mark C. writes, John, Wincott was the big bad in The Crow, and Alan Rickman's second in command in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Oh, that dude's Wincott? Yeah, he was also the bad guy in the Kiefer Sutherland, Chris O'Donnell, Charlie Sheen, Christopher Platt, Three Musketeers movie. He was the villain. He was, what was his name? Rothberger? Rothberger? Hold on a second. Musketeers. Not the 2011 one, the 1993 one. Right, let me just double check that. Rochefort. That's right, because then Christopher Platt says to him, Rochefort. Isn't that a smelly kind of cheese? That's right. He was also the villain in that. That's right. Now I know who you're talking about. See, it's one of those things. If I had the face in my head, probably would get, yeah, he was like in 80s, 90s. He was like a go-to villain, dude. He was a villain in a whole ton of stuff. But yeah, if you guys, by the way, if you've never seen one of my little hidden treasure movies is that Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Chris O'Donnell, Oliver Platt, Tim Curry, Rebecca De Mornay, Michael Wincott, obviously, movie Three Musketeers. I love that movie. It's great. And then, if you want to have a little bit of a head explosion, watch this as a back-to-back doubleheader. the 1993 Three Musketeers and then watch the Leonardo DiCaprio, Gabriel Byrne movie with John Malkovich, Jeremy Irons, Gerard Depardieu called Man in the Iron Mask. Watch them back to back. They are not sequels. I think they were even made by completely different studios. But if you watch them back to back as Three Musketeers, and then it's another Three Musketeers movie, but like 20 years later, it feels like part one and part two of one story, even though they're made by totally different studios and all that kind of stuff. If you want to treat yourself sometime, watch them. It's the best way to watch Man in the Iron Mask. Because Man in the Iron Mask on its own isn't great, but when you watch it back to back with Three Musketeers, it makes it a completely different viewing experience. Someday, when you've got a free weekend, sit down and try it out. The 1993 Three Musketeers followed immediately by Man in the Iron Mask. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Okay. Warrington Trainspotter writes, I am glad X-Men Dark Phoenix is still being released. Yeah, there was there was a rumor released that all came, this is where the root of it was. It got started by an anonymous commenter on a chat board. And it became a story. But yeah, IMAX confirmed. But hey, look, again, there's a long time between now and 2019. Anything could happen. Maybe it does get pulled. Who knows? But as of right now, IMAX has confirmed that both X-Men, Dark Phoenix, and New Mutants are completely on their release schedule. So we know they're coming. Let's see. Mauricio Floresmeyer writes, have you seen the new Robin Williams documentary? No, I know. I saw the first time I saw the trailer for it was when I watched the Andre the Giant documentary. So Ann and I sat down to watch the Andre the Giant documentary, and lo and behold, this Robin Williams trailer comes on for this Robin Williams documentary. I have not watched it yet. I didn't even know it released yet, but I'm going to watch it. I mean, the trailer looked wonderful and heartbreaking and all that kind of stuff. Cannot wait to watch it. So I'm going to watch it, but I didn't even know it released yet. So I haven't watched it yet. Let's see. Canada Rocks writes, it wasn't my question, but I'm surprised you don't remember Michael Wincott. He was the bad guy in The Crow and by far the best thing in Alien 4. I don't even remember him in Alien 4, but as somebody else threw in and mentioned there, now I know exactly who we're talking about. Yeah, he's one of those guys that just popped up in everything. Like, it just felt like he was always popping up and no one knew his name, myself included. But so there you go. Corey Jimenez writes, wouldn't that be something if Disney calls Zack Snyder for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Warner Brothers calls James Gunn for a DC movie? I don't think you're going to see Disney calling Zack Snyder. Not for Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think you're going to see that happen. I would not be surprised to see James Gunn doing a DC movie. I would not be surprised at all. And I hope he does. But even if he doesn't, whatever movie he does, I'm totally on board with. But I would not be surprised at all if Disney got a hold of him and had him doing one of their films. I wouldn't be surprised in the least. I hope it does happen. Austin Green writes, seeing The Meg on Monday, the director's track record isn't encouraging, but I still remain optimistic and I'm hoping for a fun time. You know, I haven't seen it yet myself, but I know a couple of people who have, and they're saying it's just a lot of fun. I'm hearing positive things about it. They're just saying it's just a lot of fun. And when you're going into a movie about a prehistoric, hyper huge shark, all you can ask for is just some good, goofy fun. And if that's what the movie delivers, that's what it delivers. I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've been looking forward to The Meg for over 10 years because they've been trying to get this movie made for like 10 years. And I mean, giant, super giant shark movie. How can you possibly lose? All right. Last question of the day, because then I said I was going to cut it short, but, you know, you guys send in so many questions, I want to keep going. Devontae Brown writes, Russos in Blu-ray confirm Cap and Widow are a couple. Devontae follows it up, I mean, apparently, John, I didn't mind Bruce and Widow. Yeah, you know what's funny? Robert Meyer Burnett texted me earlier today saying, hey, the Russos just confirmed that Cap and Widow were a couple. Everybody gave me crap when I said I thought they were a couple. I didn't think they were a couple. Let's put it this way. Nothing in Avengers Infinity War remotely suggests to me that they were a couple. Now, if the Russo brothers say they were, well, they're the directors and writers of the movie. They would know better than anybody. But I haven't seen them confirm this myself. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up and see what I can see, because watching the movie, I saw nothing that remotely suggested the two of them were a couple. But if they are, they are. And if the Russos say they are, then they are. Period. End of statement. I mean, there's nothing else to say after that, right? But I got to see it for myself, because I have not seen them say this. I've heard you now, Devontae, and Robert Meyer Burnett write me to say it, but I haven't seen myself, so I've got to check it out. Okay, and yeah, unfortunately, there's just too many questions for me to keep going, guys. So, but what I will do, there's about 8 or 9 more questions left. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to take all these questions that you guys have sent me. I'm going to copy them over, and I'm going to address your questions in an upcoming companion video. I'm going to put out a bunch over the weekend, so keep your eyes open. Your questions that you sent in will get answered in a companion video. Okay, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you guys have had a great week, and I hope even more that you have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show comes back on Monday morning. Make sure you join us for that. Might be doing a little bit of Warcraft streaming between now and Monday as well. Keep your eyes open for that as well. Guys, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for being here and contributing and being like giving us your questions and using the super chat function, which helps keeps the show on the air. In 1,000 different ways, thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys had fun. I had fun. I will talk to you guys later. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.